You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hey everybody, what is happening? I hope it's all groovy wherever this audio file might be finding your ears. Let's see. Today, I don't have too much of an intro for you, which is probably a nice change because I've been blabbing my mouth off in these things lately. But right now, we have a little bit of a calm before the storm, so to speak. So I'll just let you know about a couple things in case you aren't hip to it, and then we'll dive right into the episode. Okay, this part is especially tailored for those of you who are out there that are interested in buying and acquiring new gear, which I'm assuming in this audience would be 150% of you somehow. I'm not sure if that math shakes out, but it makes sense to me. And that is, if you like to support the show and you like to acquire new goods, you just go to tonemob.com/reverb. That will take you to the reverb that you know and love, where you know you can find all kinds of deals from all over the globe on just about anything you can imagine. Pedals, amps, guitars, keyboards, nose flutes, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're into, it's going to be there on reverb.com. And if you just use tonemob.com/reverb, hit that link, that's tonemob.com/reverb. That'll take you right to the reverb you know and love. Do all your normal shopping, do everything, and a little bit comes right back and goes and helps support the show and keep the servers humming and the lights on and the microphones hot, which is the most important part. At least, I think so anyway. That kind of makes sense. Sure it does. Anyway, so for the rest of you, the other people who are listening who think they would like some gear, but they might like to try to get it for free. Oh, yes. Yeah, you heard me right. You're playing along with our game, right? All you have to do is you go to tonemob.com. There's a little tab that says Join the Mob. If you join that, you will be subscribed to the Tone Mob newsletter. And you may have heard about this before, and you may have skipped over this part and kind of got bits and pieces. Listen up. Here's the deal. We're playing a trivia game on there. So if you sign up through that link there, once a week I'll be sending you an email, and it'll just contain all the updates on Tone Mob goings on, things you might be interested in, yada yada, new content, YouTube videos, IGTV videos, pedal stuff, just things you may want to keep abreast about in the Tone Mob land and in all things Tone Mobbery. And then one of those emails is going to have a trivia question in it about something that was mentioned on the podcast. And the first person to reply to that email with the correct answer gets free stuff. Oh yes, free stuff. Last week we gave away a pedal kit. We've given away pedals, we've given away all kinds of stuff, and there's more coming. So if that sounds like something cool to you, that's where you sign up. Go to tonemob.com, hit the Join the Mob tab, and it'll be right there for you. Okay, that's it. I'm done. We're going to get right into this episode with Mr. Adam Grimm, one of my favorite people in the industry. Mr. Adam Grimm of Satellite Amps. Great guy, making great products, and as you can see here, he's got great stories. So, without further ado, here he is. Oh yeah, and if you think you hear a band in the background occasionally practicing, that's exactly what you hear. But I was able to knock out most of it. It's not too much. But if you hear some things you don't know what it is, that's what it is. I think we address it, but I just wanted to note it right here. Okay, on with the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today I have, returning long overdue, Mr. Adam Grimm from Satellite Amps. What's going on, man?
Woo! Nothing really. It's been a pretty uneventful morning, which is good.
Uneventful, except for the whole FedEx, scenario, right?
Well, right. Well, we had a variety of FedEx fiascos, but for the most part, I've been dealing with that for 3.5 weeks, so it's finally over. So now that to make a really long story short, for everybody that's listening, FedEx screwed up. They lost a package. They actually broke a package in shipping. It was coming back. They lost it for 3.5 weeks. Took 31 phone calls. They tried to deliver it to 3 different addresses, got 3 different people to sign for it, none of which were the right address or the right people. And we finally got the package back today. So happy day.
Yay! Hooray! At long last.
Hooray.
And we were talking about, before we were recording, we were trying to figure out who the best shipping provider was, and we came to the conclusion that there isn't one.
Right.
It
the
just
back
is.
of my truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Satellite transportation is the best. That's the best.
That's gonna add a lot of shipping costs to all the products.
It is, but you can guarantee.
I can guarantee being there, but it's going to take me 10 days to get there and back, and hotels and food and side stops and all of that.
Yep, gonna have to build it in. Just build it in. So you were about to tell me a story before we started recording, and then it was like, wait, don't tell me a story now. Let me click this button real fast. Now you should tell me your story.
Well, it's years ago when I was in high school. I was part of this group of kids that at the time, drugs were very bad. They're still bad. Don't do drugs. But some kids, I'd been to rehab a couple times, got sober. They would have us go and speak at schools as kind of a inspirational, give kids stories, don't do drugs, drugs are bad. And in having these discussions, anytime I'm in front of an audience or anything else, I don't always self-censor myself very well. I don't know if that's the right word for it.
Yeah.
Apparently, when I went and spoke to 2,800 kids at a high school, I dropped 2 F-bombs in the middle of my speech and didn't realize I did it at all. And it was the last time I was asked to speak in front of an audience.
Well, you kept it real, and that's what those kids needed.
I also didn't realize at all that I had done it. And when I walked off the stage and everybody was just staring at me with mouths open, wide-eyed, like, oh, I'm just standing there going, what did I do? What? Okay.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
So, yeah. So I have gotten slightly better. I'm going to try my best so that I don't offend any younger children that might be listening to any of my stories as I speak.
I see.
I see. That's why I'm throwing that out there, that I'm going to do my best, and this is why. I know I do it. I try not to. It's therapeutic to me. It's a lot of fun to say. It helps relieve stress. Yeah.
And
so
sometimes you got to get things out of your system, sometimes.
You do. And we did, years ago, a friend of mine was making some shirts mocking the Fender logo and spelled that word with it instead. And so we eventually we took the B off of a bassman and made logos for the front of the amplifiers.
This seems about like what I would expect from you at this point. It seems yeah, right perfectly in line with what I would imagine,
Yeah. If you see one out there, yeah, it was us. We did it. It's there's about a dozen of them that exist. I know where 3 of them are. I don't know where the other ones are, so they could pop up anywhere. It's
I feel like I saw one
Walter
recently.
Becker's got. It's very possible. Walter Becker's got one, and he passed away 2 years ago, and they're putting all of his stuff up for auction here in October. It's going to be one of the products, and I that's actually one of the main reasons I'm going to the auction, just to watch these people try and explain what it is that they're trying to auction off to a large group of musicians.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, actually, because Walter Becker is somebody that we talked about a decent amount the first time you were on.
Yep.
And Nite Bob and that whole thing. Have any of those books came out and I missed it? Where are those legendary Nite Bob stories that I'm looking for?
So the Nite Bob, the good Nite Bob book that we're all waiting for, he has publicly come out and said it's coming out after he's dead. He's made the arrangements for it. He doesn't want to have to talk to anybody about what's in the stories after it's out.
Ooh, that's right. I forgot about that part. You did say that.
It's that good of a book. I did actually. He told me that he had written a book years ago about microphones, and I hunted it down on Amazon. I actually have a Nite Bob book. It's hilarious. It's very much somebody offered him money to write a book, and so he did, and filled out his X amount of words in the book. But it's very tongue-in-cheek microphone techniques, it does discuss things like cleaning pizza out of microphone screens, things like that. So,
well, it's an important thing.
Good.
That's an important skill to have, especially around here.
Yeah, and sometimes pineapple. I hear.
Oh, you definitely got to clean that out. Yeah, you got to clean that out of everything. Yeah. Just clean it out.
Yeah, there's not enough acid to get it off of that. We try. I did see Nite Bob. I saw him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He was out in Manhattan, and I was out there, and we were chatting about stuff. And it's interesting because the auction is coming up, and there's a lot of people that are asking him. Well, Walter Becker had thousands and thousands of instruments and amplifiers and pedals, and Nite Bob's probably the only guy out there that knows which ones are the important ones, or which ones are the ones that he used the most. What did he like the most? What's on this record? And there is Julian's, who is doing the actual auction. There's a book you can buy with all of the stuff in it. It's like $100 to buy the book. I probably should, but Nite Bob said he's gonna probably red pen one and write all the stories and circle all the important stuff, and then show everybody after the auction to see who got the right stuff and who didn't.
Oh man, that's he seems like quite the character in that way. I've heard a lot of stories about him.
Nite Bob is one of my favorite human beings out there. He is absolutely he is a no BS kind of guy. He will tell everything as straight as it is. If you make a record and you hand it to him and it sucks, he has no problem telling you that this record sucks and this is why. And that's just the way he is about everything. It's, if you say this is the best pizza ever, no, it's not. Whatever it is, he's always very honest, always very straightforward, and he's been around for so long. He has so many stories, and it's just, we're talking about. For anybody that doesn't know who Nite Bob is one of these guys that is famous to working musicians, but outside of that, people don't know who he is. He's one of the best front of house guys that ever existed. He's got ears that are phenomenal. He started off, he worked with Johnny Thunders with the New York Dolls. He was working with the Stooges. He was working with Aerosmith when they were starting out. He was doing Emerson, Lake and Palmer. He did Kiss. He did Steely Dan. He did Robert Plant. He's doing all this stuff with these phenomenal, and it's all like the perfect eras of these people. It's not that he did like the Iggy Pop reunion tours. It was like, no, Iggy and the Stooges, when Iggy's up there, cutting himself with the glass bottles and doing all of that, and they're just starting out, and it's just intense in some dive in Detroit. You look at that picture, and oh yeah, that's Nite Bob running the board. There's Nite Bob right there by the guitar. Because he was there. And if he likes you, he genuinely loves you and will do everything he can for you. So I cherish him as a friend, and I'm very happy every time I get to see him.
Do you know, and maybe this is part of the book, I'm not really sure. I didn't really intend to talk about this that much, but hey, here we are. Do you know where the name...
This is the way these go.
It is. It's called a podcast.
Yeah.
Do you know how he got the name Nite Bob? And it's specifically Nite, right?
It is specifically Nite. So at one time, early in his career, he was working at SAR, or like a rental studio place in Manhattan, and there were two guys named Bob that worked there. One was Day Bob, one was Nite Bob.
It always seems like it's something like that at the end of the day.
I asked him about this, and I said, "Do you know where Day Bob is?" And he said, "I actually do. We've found Dave. He, found him, and he knows where he is. And he's I think he works for NASA or something like that in a big scientific thing. But he does not go by Day Bob anymore.
He's just Bob.
He's just Bob now."
Nice. So what's new in Adam's world since we last talked? I mean, I'm thinking out loud here, and at least on my side of things, I can explain some major differences simply in the recording of this podcast that is substantially different from the first time we recorded. And I wonder if things are the same for you. So I recorded with you the first time in a little tiny shack right by some railroad tracks at my old day job during some downtime. And I'll have to take a picture of this shack. I'll have to go back and like take a picture so people can understand. Like, it is small, and it was probably from the 1960s and just riddled with asbestos. I mean, it was a sketchy little building. I don't know if it had asbestos. Actually, I think they'd done some abatement on it already. But it was just a really funny thing. And now I'm sitting here back at home, nice and comfy, in the shred shed, which I don't think even existed, or it was like still being built when we first talked. So it's things have changed a lot for me. But what about for you?
I mean, I'm still in exactly the same shop. I've been in this building for 15 years, and I'm sitting down in we call it the bunker. My building is 2 stories. You walk in on the top floor, and then there's basically a basement, as much as we have a basement in Southern California. And this building has just worked out really, really well for us. We have a little practice studio that we rent, so occasionally there's people out there practicing right now. So if anybody hears any background noise, that's what that is. But we've got basically about a 4,500 square foot building that we've been in. Our landlord is extremely nice. She's very generous. She knows what we do. She appreciates what we do. And it's a very affordable, big cement building. Last year we moved houses from, I had been in a little tiny house. I'm married. I got 3 kids. And we were in a small house. So last year I kind of took a little bit of time. I was trying to do both, but the shop got a little bit neglected last year because I was helping rebuild a house that we ended up moving into around Thanksgiving. So that's the big change for me for anything location wise, but the shop is still the same. In fact, there's pictures on the internet. There's people that have been here. There's a lot of gear here. There's some of it rotates in and out. There's kind of always a quest for the next, something, next story, next piece to play with. I think right now there's a little over, I think I'm about 105, 110 guitars, something like that. I should count again. Sold off a couple of the big amplifiers, got a couple of the small ones, put some new stuff around, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't believe I still haven't been able to get down there. I think I'm going to do it every NAMM, and then I look at the drive from Anaheim, and I'm like, oh, geez, how am I going to pull this? Like, it's going to be an exclusive trip, I think, when it finally does happen. It'll be that whole hour and 20 minutes is very difficult.
It is, because I usually I'm so tight around NAMM. Even getting 30 minutes of extra time is usually not super in the cards. So that's, yeah. I need to actually plan a whole day when I know you're going to be back at the shop and like plan it out. Like, instead of just thinking I should go to the satellite shop. Oh, not going to happen this trip, because that's what keeps happening.
Right. Well, you definitely should. I mean, it's. What I probably should do is just make an event of it and do it all one evening.
There you go.
During NAMM, Thursday night.
Now you're talking. That could be fun. We'll have to talk about this more off the air.
Yes, we will.
I like where this.
It's a good idea.
I like where this is. Anyhow, what's new with you? Have you made had any experiences that have been life changing or just simply kind of cool since last time?
I don't know about life changing. It's the shop stuff. There's always stuff on the burner. There's always new things coming out. We started doing guitars a couple years ago. We were doing the cornets, which we're still doing. We got a new guitar model that's coming out. We kind of hinted at but haven't quite announced yet. The main guy that was doing the rough cutting out of our woods, basically we're not working with him anymore. We've had a new guy that's local that's doing phenomenal work. So that's been on the guitar side of things. That's great. The pedal side of things, we just did a signature pedal with a guy named Nick Perry called the Sphinx.
Oh, for Nick. Nice.
Yeah. Nick's a lovely gentleman. Originally, the way that this world works, I had gotten connected with him because of Nite Bob. Nite Bob said, dude, you should send Nick a pedal. He's a great guy. I'm like, okay. And Nite Bob, I guess, did sound for Nick's first professional band for their first tour or something. Somehow they were connected. And then didn't think about it much. for probably a year and a half. And then one day, Nick came into the shop. It was like, "Oh, I'm playing down the street with this band called Dorothy. We're opening up for Greta Van Fleet, and I want to come hang out." So we chatted. He tried some stuff, and he bought a pedal. And he was like, it's an Eradicator pedal. This thing is phenomenal, which is our tube preamp pedal.
It is phenomenal. Ask me how I know.
Well, thank you very much, because you have one.
Yeah, that's right.
So Nick also, his primary boost pedal was a real gold Klon. And we were talking off and on, and as musicians tend to do late at night, and he's on a bus and asking me questions about stuff, and we started talking about the Klon and why it is, and why it has all this mojo, and why people think it's certain things, and saying, well, this is these are the magic parts that everybody's talks about, and this is not the only reason why a Klon sounds this way, but this is what a lot of people say, that it's these special diodes that nobody knows what they are. They're doing the clipping. It's mostly internet stuff of people trying to backwards engineer somebody else's product. So Nick said, "Well, can you do something like that?" I said, "You want me to add the Klon clipping section to an Eradicator?" I said, "Yeah, can we try that?" I said, "Sure." So we threw it on there, and then changed a couple other aspects of it, and kind of gave it a little bit more bass response. And that became the Nick Perry signature Sphinx pedal.
Wow, that's cool.
And we made 50. Well, we're in the process of making 50 of them. Nick is going to. I love Nick. He is extremely involved, very hands-on guy, and he is going to actually come down and test everyone, and not only test everyone, going to film the test of everyone and then sign each one. So everybody's going to get a pedal that he 100% backs. It's not just like us throwing his name on something and putting it out there. Like, you're going to get him playing it. This is exactly what it is. He's happy with it. This is what it's supposed to do. Here you go.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's been a lot of fun. Brings us to amps, which is because we are technically an amplifier company. The big thing we did was the Scamp, which was our metal cage enclosed amplifier, to make it less expensive. Mm-hmm. For the most part, to make it something that we could compete with, a Tiny Terror and that kind of stuff. And the Scamp has done extremely well. We also figured that we can put a couple of our other models onto the same size chassis, and so we can basically make metal enclosed versions of those same amplifiers. Ooh. So that's going to be coming out. Basically, we've got 4 of the amps that are going to do it, and possibly a 5th. They also fit in a Pelican flight case, so that means that you can put them in the overhead or under your seat on an airplane. You can carry it on because it fits.
Nice.
And they float. And in the Pelican case, they float my pool.
Oh. Yep. There again, things that I would think you would do. That is something I would think that you would do. There you go.
The Pelican case they say that they are waterproof, and so we have to try that out before we tell anybody. So we put one in a case. Our new house has a giant pool, and we have a big slide on it. So hit the water, put it on the top of the slide, and whoosh, dumped it down and let it float in the pool for a while. Never sank.
Nice.
Never got wet. Works perfectly fine.
Perfect. I love it.
In fact, I think that amplifier is actually out at the Guitar Store in New York. I think it's that same one.
Did you tell him about that?
No, I think I forgot to, but I'm going to have to send him the video or something to go along with it so people can know that's that one.
Is that on the internet by chance? Because I would love to watch you slide an amplifier down there.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'll have to look. If it's not, I will put it up. But if it is, I'll make sure I can get it. You can see it somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Send that to me. I'll use that post to announce that this episode is live.
Lovely.
That'll be perfect.
We've gotten... part of this with doing the Scamp and trying to do this has been we've gotten we're going to phase out probably 2 of the bigger amplifier models that they'll still be available if somebody wants to buy them, but they're going to basically be custom order stuff. All of our stuff over 50 watts we're basically taking off the books. It's the era of anybody because we make a 300 watt guitar amp, we make a 100 watt guitar amp. Nobody needs them. So we're going to pull those out, and we're going to try and bring in. There's going to be, there's definitely going to be one smaller amp that's coming out because. All right, I'll blow a little bit. So there's a company called StuMac. They're a luthier supply company.
Yes.
There's a gentleman that works there that I've known for quite a while. He hit me up and asked if we would make a satellite kit. So there's going to be a kit amplifier that you can build yourself that I've designed that will be available at StuMac sometime in the next probably month and a half, 2 months.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did I ever tell you the story about the Portawatty?
No, I don't think so. That does not ring any bells at all.
Okay, so this is kind of how the Eradicator got put into production. Years ago, the first Eradicator was done. It was plugged it into the wall, big transformer to get the right voltages, and that's why I never really pushed it. There's probably 50 of them floating around out there, but they were all custom built, one-offs. And while we were experimenting with stuff, a gentleman that owns an electronic surplus store that was nearby said, "Did you ever try this thing over here? Talk to this guy. He makes these rad power supplies." I said, "Well, all right." Well, we went and looked at them, and we actually figured out some things and customized them and used a pair of them. And we made a 20-watt battery-powered tube amp and called it the Portawatty.
Whoa. Battery-powered. Okay. All right.
Battery-powered. 5 hours on a battery charge, and you get a 20-watt tube amp.
That is awesome.
So imagine that you can take... Yeah. So we were using lithium polymer batteries, which is the same thing they use in remote control cars. And I'm sure that anybody that uses these is going to figure out what the dilemma is. Because I didn't know this. Apparently, lithium polymer batteries have a tendency, when you charge them, to catch fire and explode.
Oh, that's a problem. That's a bit of an issue. Yeah.
This is a problem.
Yes.
So we had built 2 or 3 of them, and I was over at my shop with a buddy of mine. It was late at night, probably about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. We're shutting everything downstairs. We've been playing with hi-fis and screwing around, and he looks at me. He's like, "Do you smell that?" I'm like, "Yeah. Did we blow something up? Did we burn up a resistor?" Because resistors have this very smoky smell when they go bad, when they go up in smoke. I'm like, "No, that's not it." I'm like, all right. So we turn off the lights downstairs. We walk up the stairs, open the door to upstairs, and it's filled with smoke, and my desk is on fire.
Oh, no. Whoa.
Yeah. So we had about 3 feet of flames coming off the top of the desk, and we put it out very quickly. 5 more minutes, and we probably wouldn't have a shop anymore. It probably would have been gone. So we shelved it. So the Portawatty never came out because that was, you don't really want to have something that's going to catch everybody's houses on fire to be out there.
I mean, that's even
the rest
more.
of the amplifier worked fine.
Okay. Other than that.
So other than that, the amplifier worked great. If you read it off a wall wart, it's delightful. So with the Eradicator, we use that same power supply and run it off a wall wart, a 9-volt wall wart. You can technically run off a 9-volt battery. It will last you about an hour and a half, but a wall wart works great. One of the Portawatties is still here. One of them I gave to Jamie over at Earthquaker. So he's got the other one. And told him if they ever needed to do a battery-powered pedal demo, there you go.
As soon as you said that, I'll be honest, my I don't know what kind of brain it is, the creator brain or whatever. I was like, oh man, a battery powered tube amp. That means I could take this thing like anywhere and film a demo like anywhere. Like that would be so fun. And now I'm thinking it'd be a lot less fun if I was on fire. So
well, that's why. Well, you're going to be okay in the long run. We have to get all the way through the story to get to the end of where we are.
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry. Okay, keep going.
So when Eric Coleman over at StuMac hit me up, my brain instantly went, "Yeah, we're going to bring back the Portawatty." So instead of using lithium polymer batteries, the kit itself comes ready to run off of a wall wart, regular 9-volt, one spot kind of one thing. It's a little single-ended 5-watt, mercury magnetic output transformer, tube amplifier, 12x7, 6v6, basically like a Tweed Princeton kind of white amp, small amplifier setup. So to all these guys walking around with vape pens that really bug the crap out of me because I hate the smell of fake strawberry cheesecake as they're walking by or whatever it is that they're inhaling this time, has done a wonderful thing. They make little batteries to charge all those vape pens.
Yes.
those batteries don't catch fire.
Yeah, because they're in people's pocket most of the time. That'd be important.
That would be very important. So 4 of those are they're like 3.65 volt batteries. 4 of those in a little battery pack. They're the size of AA batteries, but they're almost 4 volts each.
Wow.
That gives you enough to run the Portawatty off of.
So it is a reality. I can go back to dreaming about recording demos in canyons.
You can do that, and you get to put it together yourself.
Well, that's the bad part, because if I put it together, it's going to be a disaster. But
we've made this is an extremely easy to put together. I went at this. I've helped fix other people's kits that they've tried to put together, so I see what a lot of the dilemmas are. I see what the people not giving enough instructions or explanations as to what's going on. A lot of times with people make circuit boards with the holes where stuff barely fits in it. They don't explain what the stuff is. They buy parts that all look the same. This is going to be a very well done, easy to do kit that we've got a couple of them that we've done, and people are test building them, and I'm giving them to people that have no idea what they're doing as my testers to try and put them together. So and so far we're having a 0 failure rate. So everybody is making working stuff. Even it's not pretty solder work. But that's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be.
So this is an interesting kind of sidebar, I suppose, since you've seen so many of these mishaps when people start getting into the DIY electronic stuff. Like, are there some classic things that you see, some classic user error, like things when
Absolutely.
people are doing? What are they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, one is that depending on what kind of resistor you use, some of them, the colors look very similar. So when most kits come, they have them either taped with what the value is, or in separate bags or something. People mix them up all the time and put the wrong value in the wrong spot.
Okay. Okay.
Gotcha. And they don't understand. They don't understand how critical it is, especially in a solid state application, which is what most pedals are. Those are really critical to get things to work right. For instance, a resistor that's doing a bias on a transistor, you might have a half volt of a sway from the transistor to be operating. And if you're outside of that, from 3.8 to 4.2 volts, if you're outside of that range, that transistor doesn't work. So right away, if you've got the wrong resistor biasing that transistor, you'll never get the rest of it working. And trying to figure out what's wrong with that is extremely difficult to go backwards. So putting the right part in the right spot is number one. Number two is that people use too much solder.
Really? Interesting.
Oh yeah, especially on little radial caps where both legs fit through and they're very close together. A lot of times we find them where they're just soldered together in one blob. The other thing that is unfortunate is, I don't know if it's fear or if it's shoddy equipment, but stuff that didn't use enough heat to solder it. That's the last thing I would say.
Cold solder joints, yeah.
Cold solder joints, and it's if you're gonna solder something, and you go to Home Depot to buy a soldering iron, and their options are a little tiny 10 watt that won't do electronics worth of crap, or a big 80 watt soldering gun that's made for stained glass windows, or for plumbing uses. It's not. You need a good 25 or 30 watt iron. You're gonna have to spend $50 on tools. And if you don't. And that it doesn't have to be that expensive, but somewhere around that, for a good soldering iron, it will make your life so much easier to do anything.
I can agree with that, and I don't have nearly the experience you do, but I did get a nice soldering iron off, out of the gate before I tried any soldering really. Right. Any electronic soldering anyway, and I just got lucky because my friend Leon from Pelican Noise Works was like, get this one here. And I was like, oh, okay, right. Sure. And it's been incredible. Yeah. It's not old. It's I think you say Hako or Hako. I'm not sure.
Hako, yeah. Hey, I say Hako, but I don't know. Hakos are phenomenal. They're more, it used to be Weller was the go-to all the time. Hako, I think, makes a slightly better product for the money. But either one of those is great. Elenco makes one that was good. I haven't seen one of those in a while. But they were kind of, in the same vein of Weller's. Any of the more expensive stuff. I mean, if you want to spend the money, sure, but it's most people. I tend to use Weller's because that's what I've always used, and so there's a familiarity to that. But it's a nice Weller, and it's got a temperature control on it, and it's keep your sponges wet. Use water. Don't use juice, soda, or whatever else.
Beer.
It's
some beer on there.
Beer, whatever. You see all kinds of stuff, and keep your tip clean, and try and give yourself a good workspace.
What about solder choices?
I mean, there's only a couple that are available. I like the 6337 stuff that people do. I think right now we've been on a Delta kick, which is a company that makes solder, and it's fine. I haven't seen any that I find better than others. The one thing that if you are going to do a lot of stuff, especially if you're repairing friends' gear or anything, is to be careful of anything that is lead-free solder, because you basically need 2 soldering irons, one for lead and one for not lead, because they do not mix well together. And if you put lead solder on not lead stuff, it won't stick, ever.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I've got I actually have a separate desk together for if I have to do lead-free solder stuff. I don't like doing lead-free solder. I don't think anybody really likes doing it.
No
it's
one
harder
does.
to use. It's more finicky. When they started making the laws about it, all the hospitals got allowances to still be able to use leaded solder because it's so much better for what their needs are. And if that's what the hospitals want to use, all right, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna.
I'm sticking with lead.
I don't plan on licking the insides of my amps and pedals. I do like to look at them, but I don't plan on cutting myself and rubbing the lead into the wound or anything.
But one of the other things is that when you are soldering with electronics, there's rosin inside of it, which rosin is what is called a flux. It's what helps the solder flow into the joint and basically work better. When you melt the solder, you get a little wisp of smoke. That smoke is not lead fumes, it's rosin fumes. I've had a couple of people talk to me about not wanting to get lead poisoning from the solder. You're not going to. If anytime you're handling any kind of lead, always wash your hands afterwards, but I shouldn't have to tell adults how to wash their hands.
You shouldn't, but at the same time, we probably should. So 2 to 3 minutes, warm water.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't go that
far. I've been to NAMM many times, and everybody gets the NAMM thrax because they don't wash their hands.
Hand sanitizer, baby. I don't use it at anything else other than NAMM. But there, it's like body armor. You have to. You just have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh boy.
You wake up in the morning, you take an airborne, you put your hand sanitizer in the back pocket, and you try not to touch anybody.
Mm-hmm. And if you do,
and it's go clean yourself. And there's for people that have never been to NAMM, I think last year was like 110,000 people.
I don't even
know. In a convention center,
something like that, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I think that was the official number from NAMM. It was over 100,000 people. In one convention center, all trying to try gear.
Yeah, all touching things. Everybody's touching everything.
Yeah, that are all there from all over the world. Everybody's rushing around. There used to be a lot more drunken debauchery. There's not as many drunk people anymore at NAMM, which is good. But I mean, it's still, if you go to the events afterwards, see how the people are, into the wee hours of the morning, and realize that Saturday morning most of these guys haven't gotten maybe 6 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. Because it's they're constantly going and partying, and this is their moment to shine. And then thanks. I don't want to be sick, but good times.
Good times. Yeah, I've noticed a weird trend, and it's not weird actually, it's a good thing. But I was just talking about this with my dad. So NAMM is a good example, and then we just went to the NHRA Top Fuel Drags here last weekend, which was,
I saw 11,000 horsepower.
Oh baby, it's so incredible. But I hadn't been there since I was a kid, and that's one thing I told my dad. I was like, you know what? There's way less drunk people here than there was when I was a kid, And Nam,
Yeah.
like you said, has changed a lot. Like I think people just have realized that being drunk isn't that great all the time in every public every single public venue. You don't need to be hammered. I don't know what it is. I've just seen less drunk people in public places as I've gotten older.
That I think a lot of times, at least for NAMM, because so it's supposed to be industry only and everybody's got a name tag on, so you're not anonymous. So, when people find out that their employees are acting that way, you put a stop to it.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've heard a story many times over about mid '80s NAMM, and I think my first one I went to was 1988, so it was probably in that same era. I did not personally witness this, but there was definitely drugs and favors being passed around towards people buying big orders from companies.
Ooh. I'm glad I wasn't there during that era.
Well, one of the big highlights is, again, if you go to NAMM enough times, used to be the Dean girls.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I see. Oh, I'm drawing some lines here. They're not just booth babes. Is what you're trying to say?
People can. I'm trying to say that the way the story goes, and again, to protect myself from any kind of liability, this is just a story that I did not personally witness. I have just had numerous people tell me this, and that were firsthand accounts of it.
I see.
Yes, if you went in and you were an A dealer, which they have when you buy stuff from companies, big companies, they have A dealer, B dealer, C dealer. That is basically how many products you're buying for your store for the next 6 months. So, for instance, if you want to be a Fender custom shop dealer, you have to be an A dealer, which means you have to sell, 250 Squires, 100, Fender labeled made in America, and then you can get into the, X amount of custom shop stuff. So the way the story used to go is that, if you were if you were the guy making the deal for the store and became an A dealer, you got a little bump of cocaine, you got yourself whatever drink you wanted, and you had a choice of the girls.
Wow. How the times have changed.
Yeah, they have changed quite well. I don't know. I've never bought anything from Dean directly.
Well, that's true. Neither have I. So
I don't believe that actually happens anymore. But I do know that when the first time we exhibited at NAMM was, I think, 2007 or 8, something like that. As soon as you sign up for the NAMM thing and say, yes, I'm going to do it, they put you on all kinds of mailing lists. So you get all kinds of weird emails of, what do you need for your booth? We have plants, we have TVs, we have chairs. And one of them is, do you need any, info girls, as they were called at the time, of, do you want women to dress nicely in outfits you can pick out to hand out your literature? And I was like, I'd feel bad doing that.
Right. Not really.
But
I don't really want to do that.
I want people that I don't really want to do that. And I hope that anybody that's there passing out my info can answer any questions that people would have.
It seems like
I don't want somebody there just to hand out paper.
It seems like such a strange. I mean, I guess it's not that antiquated because it definitely still happens, but it seems like such a strange concept that seems to be dying not just in our industry, but kind of across multiple industries where it doesn't make any sense.
I think that's I think that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got 2 daughters and a son. My daughters are 8 and 10, and I want them to be considered as equals and not as pretty bodies in outfits that are there to try and get somebody excited to try a product.
It's also counterintuitive too to like what actually goes into the decision making behind, for a consumer anyway, behind like what product to buy. They don't care what kind of booth girls were there. They don't.
No,
not at all.
They shouldn't. If that's why you're buying stuff, it's for the absolute wrong reason.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, we don't do that many ads. We used to do some print ads every once in a while. We have always tried to make it about the products, not about who plays them. Even not of, it's I don't think I ever ran a Walter Becker ad. I should have. I suppose I probably still could, but I don't even know that print ads do anything anymore.
Oh, let's talk about that off the air. That's my. Ooh boy, I could rant on that all day long.
I remember talking to the guys at Orange. Two of the guys that were the head of marketing over at Orange were going to go rogue and go independent. And so they were hitting up a bunch of smaller companies to see if they could drum up business. And I said, well, what kind of, just out of curiosity, like how many print ads does Orange do every year? And they said, one.
Mm-hmm.
I said, really? He said, yeah. You know why? Because it's almost free, because we don't get anything back on our print ads anymore. I said, good. That makes me feel great about my print ads.
I think that print ads are dead or dying in the age of digital media, and that's because honestly, not to toot the horn here, but platforms like this one now can I have capabilities that didn't exist before. Like I could give Orange, come on Orange, you listen to this? I could give Orange all the data. Like, yes, your episode was downloaded exactly 947 times, and the ad spot is at this minute mark, so it's all almost guaranteed that many people heard it, type of thing. Absolutely. And so it's just a funny thing. Like print ads are such a thing in this business, then they're not as much of a thing in other industries anymore, which is crazy.
Right. Well, it's I used to read magazines, and now I rarely do. I just look this stuff up online on an iPad or a phone. And but I will say that the digital demographics of what I get are much better response to what I ever got from a magazine telling me how well my ad did.
Interesting.
I know if I'm going to ruin something for a lot of people, but social media is not real.
What? Hold on. Wait a minute.
Sorry about that. I know.
You mean to tell me that people only post their best stuff on there and they don't actually they don't put real life on there? Huh.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's true. I will occasionally get messages from people that are upset because they will see me post something and I might be completely out of town. And I will post a picture from my shop, and why aren't you there? You're posting that because it's a picture I took 3 months ago, and I've been waiting in case I need a picture to post.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it that's thought out. We get if you have your Facebook account and you're a business and it's linked to your Instagram account, you get all your demographics. I can tell you what my best picture was in the last 2 years as far as how many views, how many comments, how many likes, how many people shared it to other people. I can also see which one was the worst and everything in between. I know what time people look at my stuff. I know what time, in what countries people are looking at my stuff. I know that most of the people in this country they look at my Instagram during their lunch, Monday through Friday.
Yep. Same here. And honestly, I think
lunch hour.
I think that's becoming more and more apparent because it's not just businesses that have that access anymore. A lot of creatives do too. And so, and now, and there's obviously a lot more people putting out content and creatives type stuff than there are businesses making things. And now that all those people have all the same numbers, they can see what everybody's been seeing for so long. I just think it's becoming very commonplace. But I think one thing that's worth noting that everybody freaks out about is that these companies are quote unquote selling your data, right? Do you know any of the names?
Right.
Personally, because I certainly don't.
So yes and no. So to me, I have a friend who is very against technology. He keeps tape over the front camera of his phone so that nobody can watch him. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. This is advertising. This is not what Facebook is being accused of, and Google and everybody else is doing is not anything new. Anytime that everybody uses one of those little club cards at their grocery stores or at CVS or whatever to get their discount, you're telling those people what you're buying.
Yep.
You're doing the same thing. The other thing that a lot of people don't get is if you're on a public Wi-Fi somewhere, let's say you walk into a Walmart and you get on the Walmart Wi-Fi, they're not giving that to you as a service because they want you to be able to surf the web. They're watching where you go and watching where you go in that store, and they can have information to know where you went and what you bought because you're going to go through the checkout and they know when you did it. They don't know specifically that it's you, but they know that customer 100 58 for today went in and bought diapers, motor oil, and chewing tobacco and checked out at aisle 5, paid in cash.
Exactly.
And but they also know if you slow down and you look at something that doesn't fit in with that of what you're usually buying, and they can find out if you're buying impulse purchases. They arrange the stores like this. IKEA is set out purposely to slow you down, to get you to buy extra things. Everywhere we go, and this might be a whole other long conversation, but what I do, I don't run a business.
Okay.
The purpose of business is to sell things, is to make money. That's it. It's not anything else. The purpose of Facebook is not for us to be able to talk to our friends. It's to make money. The purpose of Google is not to be able to look stuff up on the internet. It's to make money. But if they're doing anything outside of that, that's great if they find some humanitarian cause and they do these things to make themselves look good. But if it was bad for their bottom dollar, they wouldn't do it.
100%.
As soon as you step out of that, and I know you don't do the tone mob for money and it's not an income, but if it was something that you do it because you feel passionate about why you're doing it, as soon as you were to start doing it to try and make income and make a living off of it as a pure thing, then you have to bow to your advertisers and you have to figure out how to make that money, and you have to go to the best amount of money for you to be able to do it. And if you were doing that, I wouldn't be the person you would be talking to. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. I'm just using it as an example, of course. We still have friends, and there are small instances here and there of things that happen like that. But, Marshall doesn't care that they don't make a JTM 45 correctly.
Right.
They will never care about that. No. They care about what they can get you to buy. Same with Fender. They're a business. Same with Gibson. All this stuff about Gibson and, there's a whole other hour of conversation. Yeah, the video that Mark Aganassi put up of, we're going to sue everybody, blah, blah, blah. They're doing this because they're a business to make money. They don't give a crap about the Les Paul legacy. They're not doing anything other than, does this make us money? Mm-hmm. What I do and what a lot of small builders do, Chris Benson, Doug Cower, my friend Sam over at Cardinal, Matt at M-Tone, Saul Cole, the list goes on of all of these friends of mine, and not just because they're friends of mine. These are small guys. They're artists. They're not businessmen. If we were businessmen, we're doing this in absolutely the worst possible way to do it.
Yeah.
We're doing things because we're compelled to do it. Those guys that are pushing 11,000 horsepower at the drag strips, they're doing it because they're compelled to do it. Ford doesn't make any money off of them. They're not getting it. Nobody's going to buy a dragster because of it. But those guys have to do it. They can't not do it. And that's the way I am. And that's the way all these guys are. When I see the people that are complaining about social media or anybody stealing their information, that's business. It used to be the penny saver or the flyers that would come in the mail. Everything, is you'd buy something, they'd sell your list. Every time you move houses and change your address, the U.S. Postal Service sells your address to a mailing list.
Oh, 100%. Of course they do. Or something.
And then all of a sudden you get all these
that you're getting these. You're not getting coupons because of for no reason. Somebody got that somewhere.
Right. Somebody paid that to try and convince you to come in and spend your money in their shop, and they will make money with that coupon and everything. They figured it out. Yeah. Black Friday, same thing. Amazon Day, Pi Day, whatever it is. It's all the same thing.
One thing I like to tell people about when they talk about the social stuff. Now, I obviously pay attention very closely to what all these big social companies are doing because that's how I make money. But one thing I like to tell people about this is this shouldn't be surprising to you. I wasn't on social media for a really, really long time, while everyone else was, and people looked at me like I was a dinosaur. Because I knew if the service is free, and it's always free, and it's always going to be free, you are the product that's for sale. 100%.
Absolutely.
And I've known that for a long time, and shouldn't be news to anyone. Why is television free? Like on-air television. Why is it free? Why was it always free?
It's advertising.
Advertising.
It's stuff that, and Yeah.
It's,
And you are absolutely positive that they know exactly what advertisements are being watched, and they have since the advent of the commercial.
yes, this is old. This is old stuff. It's as old as modern media. Like really, as soon as we started consuming things in mass, people figured out, how to get people to buy things, or at least how to make them aware of things to buy. They maybe didn't have the effective conversion rate strategies and things that we might have now, but they knew what they were doing. And we should know as consumers what they're doing. People should be informed of that so they can know when they're being influenced, or at least know what's happening. I think it's good that consumers are more aware of this stuff, even as a guy who does advertising for a living. So,
absolutely. But that's what pays for everything. There is nothing in this world that's free. The internet is not free. It's never going to be. There's too much stuff going on that costs money that somebody has to pay for.
It's true. I mean,
somebody somewhere. It's same with the water in your house, the power that you get. Solar panels are great. Yeah, you're still paying somebody to lease them or to install them and to do all this stuff. There's always somebody that's somehow getting effort gets out that has to be compensated for, has to be paid for no matter what. And there's never going to be a time where we can't do that in the society that we have.
Right. In the quote unquote Western world in general, it's all about. I mean, let's be honest. Very few people just get up and go to work to do to dig ditches or to re-roof a house or to plumb a place. They don't do that because they're driven to do it. They do it because that job pays well, and somebody's going to pay me to go do that. Otherwise, nobody would do it.
Plumbing is awful. I hate everything about it.
And that's why plumbers make decent money. So.
That's why when it comes time of, you want to dig around in your own pipes, or you want somebody else to that knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have the guy that knows what he's doing with the tools, that doesn't mind getting dirty, and he's going to get paid handsomely for it, as he should.
Exactly. And it works that way everywhere.
It absolutely does. And it's I'm surprised there are not more rogue kids running around stores knowing this to try and fake the advertisers out, but it's I'm sure that even us talking right now is we're going to get some kind of, I'm probably going to get a Walmart ad on Instagram when I look later. It's
almost certainly, almost guaranteed we're going to get some sort of thing that we never decided to talk about, but never decided to look up rather, but we talked about it. And now I got hit with that from a funeral home the other day. I talked about somebody else's funeral. I did not Google a funeral. I did not say anything but something about somebody's funeral to my wife. Opened Facebook. First ad I saw, so-and-so's funeral home for all your needs, your loved ones and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, this is crazy. Like that's not coincidence at this point. Like, why would I have looked up a funeral home? No, nobody died.
I've had it happen. Yeah. So many times I'm not even shocked by it anymore.
No.
But I also, I don't feel like we're in a society that is your privacy isn't something that you have. You think there's an illusion of it, but it's not what people think it is. People, there's the people that are against all this of, the privacy advocates. I get it. I understand what they're saying. We don't have any privacy. There's nothing here that is sacred and keeping us, out of the eye of anything else. All of our information is digitized and is stored somewhere. And if it's stored somewhere and one person can get to it, everybody can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the way.
Remember there was
go ahead. Go ahead.
So a couple, I don't know, it was probably about a year and a half ago. There was a big password leak, blah, blah, blah. A lot of it was minor things, and a couple of big banks. I got an email from Reverb saying that you have to change your password because it was, it got out in this password thing from somebody else's thing. We cross-checked that password of yours to ours that we have on file for you. So that means that they don't encrypt their passwords, and they went in and they look at my account.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't that shocked about it, but there were other people that were like, "Oh my God, they looked at my stuff." Like, yeah, and
right.
It's when you go into Target and you swipe your card, do you think they erase that information? They should, but they don't.
Of course they don't,
because they use it for their demographics, which is why then there's this giant data breach of all the credit cards that got stolen from Target. Target shouldn't have had it.
Mm-hmm.
But they do.
And
why?
And there's,
guess what?
I was going to say,
the only way that you're going to get around that, wads of cash.
wads of cash and Big Brother stepping in and telling you that you're going to. But by the way,
Right.
we still want that information, but we don't want you to have it.
Of course. Right.
This has really turned into a weird analysis of capitalism and advertising in 2019, which I didn't expect, but then again, maybe I should have.
I don't know where these conversations go. I like when they're much more like this, where it's a free form rather than you're reading off of a set number of cards of what does an EL34 tube sound like.
I mean, I try to make this show as much as, I mean, minus me being the host. I wish there was a different host, but I try to make it something I would want to listen to. Most of the shows I listen to are very conversation driven, and it's more fun for me that way. So
I was actually thinking about this between our initial contact earlier today and complaints of FedEx and on my way over to the shop. I'm sorry, everybody. We did talk before we had this conversation that's being recorded, but it was only for like 3 minutes. Since I'm ruining everybody's delusions here of the internet. I actually thought about this as like, how come no one's ever interviewed you? When's the reverse tone mob?
Well, so I actually think that it did happen. But it happened.
Okay.
It happened.
Maybe I missed it then.
It was a long time ago. It happened probably too early. Michael James Adams, who's on Instagram is at Pushin. He interviewed me on episode 30 something, 30 mid 30s somewhere, I think. But really, I feel like it would be more applicable now because at that point, nothing had really changed. I was still just talking to people on the internet like I'm doing now, but I was still at my old job. I wasn't working with anybody. I wasn't quote unquote technically in the business, as I am now.
Right.
And so really there wasn't that much to say. I feel like now there would be more to say. So maybe that needs revisited. I'm not sure. I still don't feel that interesting though.
Get Mike off his butt and have him do it again because, he's writing more and he's doing fretboard journaly stuff. That's
true. He is. He's been up. We are, kind of like you and I, like we're talking about doing it again. So that will probably happen. Who's interviewing who is anyone's guess at this point. But you're right. I should get him back.
Well,
get him going again.
I'm going to throw out there that maybe we should take a little user poll on the Facebook of what questions people want to ask of you in your interview.
We'll give it a try. We'll see. I feel like I've spilled my guts so often. There's not that much more to tell, but we could find out.
I'm sure we can come up with some stuff, and I'm sure Mike can dig quite well.
It's true. He's really good at it.
I love Mike. Mike's a great guy. He is really good at it. So he does come and visit because he's probably about an hour and 15 minutes away from my shop where he lives, and so he comes down occasionally and hangs out. And we have a good old time. We like hanging out. We like visitors. Come visit me.
Come visit.
Keep me from being lonely.
Come visit the satellite
Everybody,
shop.
come visit. Whenever you want. We'll do lunch. It'll be great. We'll get coffee.
Please
we'll play things.
Please
we'll
visit.
Talk about people.
Anybody?
Yeah, please visit. Come to me. I'm ready for lunch now, and nobody's here to take me to lunch.
I wish I was there to take you to lunch. I'm ready for lunch now too. That sounds great.
You know what? Maybe that's a good time to go get lunch then.
I think it is. We're right at that mark. So great talking to you again. This is fantastic. It's always so good to talk to you.
It's always a pleasure. I hope that it was entertaining for the people listening. I didn't ramble too much about my dystopian future.
Oh, everyone's just going to be looking
world.
over their shoulder for the rest of the day. That's all. You got anything you want to plug before we sign off here?
Go do something nice for somebody. That's all I care about.
I like that.
All my products are out there. They're coming out. They come out when we want. I think I already talked about the new stuff. It's try and smile a little bit more and occasionally take a day off.
Good plan. I like it. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All
right, everybody.
Well, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Sounds good. For Adam, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, there we have it. Another episode in the can, and if that is your bag and you need more of that in your life, make sure you check out Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/tonemob, you can see a couple different levels there, but starting at $5 a month, you get extra episodes every week, and they can be extra conversations like this one. They can be me and my good friend Justin Porter sitting around and, trying to solve the mysteries of life and guitar pedals. Or it could be me demoing some random pieces of gear, which I've done on occasion. So if you go over there, you can go check out patreon.com/tonemob, and you can see all the deets there. Okay, thank you very much. I'll talk to you next week. I've got some more good stuff for you and some more really cool guests lined up. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, folks. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.